Today we're going to be making this material you see right here in Blender. I'll be showing you step by step how to do so. As always, if you have any questions or anything else, put those in the comments. And if you have any materials that you'd like specifically, make sure you request those as well. Without further ado though, let's get started. Alrighty, so the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put our point light up here. And then we're going to want to aim our camera down at the 3D cursor. And then we're all set with the scene. So we'll be adding a icosphere, subdividing it 5 times, and then right clicking and shading it smooth. And then after that, when we go into rendered preview and Eevee, our render looking something like this, and we're good to go. Future Amarok coming back here. Make sure you hit this drop down and uncheck scene world when you're setting up your scene. And then on the HDRI, I just selected this one right here. That's this one. Anyways, yeah, just do that so that you can see what's going on when you're editing better. Anyways, get back to it. So let's go ahead and head over to the shading workspace. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit new material, and then we're going to want to add it, and we're going to call it strawberry. So now that you've added your new material, the first step is going to be hitting Shift A and going to search for a Voronoi texture, like so. And then we're going to want to make sure we have the Node Wrangler add-on checked in our preferences. So go ahead and search up Node Wrangler like so. Make sure you have it checked right here, and then you'll be good. So with the Voronoi texture selected, hit Control T, and then move the object. We're not moving the object into the vector this time, and the reason for that is pretty simple, but we are going to be needing to leave the mapping node here. So generate it to vector, vector to Voronoi texture, and then we're good to go. So next, we're going to be hitting Shift A and adding a color ramp right here. Plug the distance from the Voronoi texture into the color ramp, and then preview the color ramp. So on this Voronoi texture, we're going to be switching the scale to a 25, the roughness to a 0.75, and then we're going to be leaving these settings exactly how they are. So then right here, we're going to be moving this white into about a 0.6. You can just go ahead and type it in manually if you like so. And now that we have this is where our seeds are going to be. And you might be wondering, why are they circles? And that's because we need to switch this right here to a 0.5. And now we get the stretched seed sort of going on here. So we're just making the mask right now. So secondly, we're going to want to grab the Voronoi and the color ramp, selecting them both using this. Just doing that. Control Shift D. And then we duplicate them like this. Then on this one, we're going to want to drag the white in like this. And the black, we're going to be putting at about a 0.4, like so. If we preview this one, it looks like this. These are the actual seeds. This one right here, this is the pit, and then we have the pits and the seeds, basically, is what's going on here. Alrighty, so the next step is we need to factor both of these into our bump. So we'll hit Shift A, search for a bump node, like this. And then we're going to be wanting dragging this color into the height on this one, switching the strength to a 0.3. There we go. And we're going to duplicate this bump node, put it right here, drag this color into the height, and switching this one's strength to a 0.1. Then we can take the normal from the first bump and plug into the normal of the second bump. And if we Control Shift left click on the second bump, it's looking something like this. So on strawberries, they have these pits around them, and then they have the parts that the seeds, which are actually there. Basically, what this does is we have now our pits, and then we have our seeds, which is exactly what we want. And it's starting to look pretty decent as far as the seeds and their spacing go and everything. So you can play with the randomness on here and bring them build up to a 1, but basically you want both of these to be identical. So for now, we're going to leave these on. We'll leave them on a 1 for now, and then we can play with it at the very end. Once we have all the colors and everything in there, we can see which looks the best. So this is what the final product's looking like at the moment. We haven't done the color or the roughness or the extra bump or anything yet. And so yeah, first step is going to be the color. So get started with that. We're going to hit Shift A, search for a noise texture like this. Grab our vector, plug it into this vector like that, and then we're going to be doing the reds in this one. So we're going to search for a color ramp, move the factor into the color ramp. And then on this noise texture, we're going to be changing the scale to a 250, like this. Let's go ahead and preview the color ramp so you can see what's going on here. The detail up to a 10, and the roughness to a 0.2. So for the black, we're going to be switching that color, and we're going to bring the value up a little bit. So it's not pure black. It's going to be like the darker red that we're seeing in the, or the pinkish red sort of that we're seeing in the strawberry. It's not going to be quite fully saturated, but very close. And the hue is going to be basically a reddish pink, close to like a 0.98, something like that. Anyways, yeah. So this next one, the value on this one, we're going to be keeping it a little bit lower, like a 0.4. They're going to be like the redder part of it. Saturation, almost fully saturated, just like the last one. And the hue, going to be red again. This one's going to be very close. We actually can make this one like a 0.1 or a 0.01, something like that. A little bit less, so it's red. You know what? Let's go all the way around. 0.99. Something like that, and then a little bit higher. 0.995. So we get two different colors, and it's starting to look like the colors that you'll see on a strawberry. The roughness and the bump will play into it and make the colors work more like they actually do. But anyways, these are the colors that we're going to be using, and you already saw the final product, and so yeah. Anyways, so we'll hit Shift A, add another noise texture. This is for the seeds. We'll move this vector into the noise texture. Shift A, a color ramp. Plug the factor into the factor, just like the last time. And then on the scale for this one, it's once again going to be a 250. Detail 10. And roughness 0.2, just like the other one. So the color for the black, we're going to be switching that one to a pretty bright color, about a 0.7 here, something around there. Saturation, actually let's get the hue first. The hue is going to be about a 0.25. And then the saturation is going to be up a bit to about a 0.55-ish. Basically, we're just eyeballing the color of the seeds. And we do that. And then here, we switch this one's going to be like the yellower one. And so the value on this one is going to be pretty bright, but not too much. So like a 0.65, something like that. The hue, we're going to get another yellow hue, about a 0.18. Saturation, going to be very saturated, about a 0.9, something like that. And then now we have the color of the strawberry seeds, greenish yellow going on here. So to mix that, we're going to hit Shift A, search for a Mix RGB node. Put it right here. I'll go ahead and Control Shift left click this to preview it as we go. So clamp on it. So for the factor, we're going to be taking this, which represents our seeds, and putting it into the factor. That is the second Voronoi texture that we made. So then for color 1, we're going to be dragging in the reds. And color 2, we'll be dragging in the greens. Like this. So now we've got our seeds and our reds going on how they're supposed to. So if we plug the color into the base color and preview the shader, we get something like this. And it's starting to sort of look like a strawberry. However, it's not very bright. It looks a little flat in areas. It's not quite where it should be. So get it there. All we have to do is add another layer of bump and then the roughness, and it's the same thing. So that's really good. To do that, we're going to hit Shift A and we'll add a Musgrave texture. Move this vector down to here. And then we're going to hit Shift A and we'll add a color ramp. Then we'll move the height into the factor, and let's preview the color ramp. So we're going to leave the detail at a 5 on the Musgrave texture, the detail to a 10, and the dimension to a 0.001. Basically, this makes it very detailed, essentially. Anyways, next thing we're going to do is we're going to want to switch this black and the white all the way. So move the white all the way over here, the black all the way over here. And this white, we're going to want to make the value on this a 0.5. Oops, I made the white. I changed the white. We need to change the white to a 0.5, not the black. So move the white to a 0.5 on the value scale, and we get something like this, which is what we want. The reason we're doing this is because we don't want it to be too bumpy or too rough. So next, we're going to be adding in the bump node. So Shift A, search for the bump, put the color into the height, and then the strength will move down to a 0.05. And essentially what that's looking like is if we Control Shift left click and preview it, it's looking like this. Gives it a little bit of texture, which is what we want. We don't want it to be too strong. If we leave this at a 1, essentially, it looks like this, and that doesn't look like a strawberry, unless it's like a warped moldy strawberry or something like that, and then you can go for that. But that's not what we're going for here. So 0.05 is what we'll be leaving it at, and then we'll plug this normal into the normal of that bump right here. And then if we preview the final product, it is currently looking like this when it loads. There we go. This is what it's currently looking like. Still the roughness, it's very rough, and that's not how strawberries work. So fix that. We're just going to take this color, plug it into the roughness right up here, and then we should be getting a very nice looking strawberry material. So now it's looking like this. And this is looking very much like a strawberry that just came out of like a fridge or something. And you can always take the value on this and then lower a little bit, maybe to like a 0.25. If you want it to look a little bit shinier, like it's more fresh. And if we want to see what it looks like on an actual strawberry model, just give me a second and I'll show you. So I just went ahead and created a basic strawberry shape like this. And if I go into rendered preview and give us a strawberry material, it's looking like this. And if we make sure we apply the rotation and the scale, it still has that nice strawberry look to it. And this is what our strawberry is looking like with just material. Obviously, it's just playing with the bump, so it's not going to be as detailed as if you actually modeled out each seed. But if you're trying to save up for save poly count for your scenes and the strawberry is not a main feature, then this is a really good option for you. And if you want to see what it looks like at a realistic size, I went ahead and scale it down to realistic size, apply the rotation and the scale, and this is what it measurements in meters. And then if I go to imperial units real quick and inches, feet, go to inches quick. This is what it's looking like in inches. And this is our strawberry material. So the reason we use generate instead of object is because it scales accordingly. So basically I could make this a mega strawberry like this, and it'd still have the same amount of detail as it did when it was tiny, no matter whether I apply the rotation in the scale or not. If I did it off of the object, then for instance, let's say I had this many seeds when it's this small. When I scaled it up, it would have like a gazillion seeds on it. And so it wouldn't scale properly. And so yeah, basically generated worked much better for this material. And most of the other ones I use object, but anyways, you don't need to know that. Essentially, this is what our strawberry material looks like in the final product, and I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you check out some of the other ones if you're interested in creating more fruit. I'll have some other ones coming out soon. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.